The earlier, the better. And that is why I stand here to support my great friend Timothy to establish, or the establishment of a national cancer prevention and control fund. So, Madam Speaker, I would want to go into record in actually saying that this is long overdue, and that the former members who have tried earlier and didn't get the light of the day, let us take this seriously so that the 13th House or the 13th Parliament would go down on record to have actually assisted big time to prevent this menace. We know for sure that many diseases, like somebody has also mentioned, AIDS, now has been contained because of prevention. Many other diseases have been prevented because of prevention. Let's take this opportunity to actually grab this motion, and members, let's all support this so that we have a fund which is set aside for the cancer. Thank you so much, and be blessed.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Charles Ngusia, member for Mwingi West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute and to add my notes on the same motion. I will start thanking my colleague and my good friend, Timothy Torotich, for bringing this motion to the floor of the House. And in fact, it has invoked a lot of issues concerning cancer and cancer management in this country. Madam Speaker, I will begin by noting that cancer is an illness or a disease that is usually associated with physical, social, emotional, and financial ramifications for people who are affected, even to the families who are affected by cancer. And when you hear of cancer, you think of patients who actually fear of death. They fear disfigurement, abandonment, financial hardships, and all those sorts of negativity associated with these diseases, Madam Speaker. And that is why it is very important to debate on this matter and collectively institute establishment of this fund, Madam Speaker. Because I believe that majority of the issues we have been raising here, sometimes cancer is caused by lifestyle. And when I listened to our Deputy Speaker here, it invoked in my mind that we are the architect of our own miseries sometimes. Because if something has been done by the Western world, and whatever she petitioned, and it is still existing, Madam Speaker, we should have done away with those carcinogenic products long time ago. And we need to support that eradication, doing away with that thing. Madam Speaker, establishment of this fund through the National Cancer Institute of Kenya, number one, will help the country in collection, analyzation, and also dissemination of data regarding the cancer issues affecting our country, Madam Speaker. I note with concern that most of us, even we don't have data how many patients we have buried through cancer, cancer disease. We don't even have data or information on prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of the same, Madam Speaker. So by establishing this fund, we'll empower these institutions and NGOs which have been really keen on doing away with cancer in our country. Madam Speaker, every time we do fundraisings on a weekly, daily, and monthly basis, and majority of the families undergo through financial distress and even physical stress. And because the government doesn't have a consolidated fund on the same, Madam Speaker. So this one is going to help family overcome challenges and financial hardships we have been experiencing. And they always say prevention is better than cure. Majority of the people, they perish because of lack of information. By establishing this fund, it will ensure we have cancer counseling centers, and we can have a regular visit of anybody suspecting he or she has got cancer effects, or rather cancer-causing kind of effects, Madam Speaker. So I am supporting this. And we have seen so many Kenyans going to Ahmedabad, that is India, seeking for treatment of cancer. And India has really enjoyed in terms of this because they have adequate facilities and personnel to handle cancer. And one of the cities which is really surviving because of medical issues is Ahmedabad. So by establishing this fund, we'll make sure we have enough researchers who can establish cancer treatment centers. Hence, it will promote what we call medical tourism in our country, and that will be an added advantage of the same. Madam Speaker, also, this is going to create employment in our economy when we do all these things, and we will invest in research, and many of our people who are even unemployed will venture into issues of medical, and it will be very important for us to do a lot of research on these cancer issues, Madam Speaker. I don't want to labor a lot because my colleagues also want to speak on the same. I have seen the need to have this fund in place. And it is important for National Cancer Institute of Kenya to make sure their availability and also their presence is felt across our country. So far, we have an institution, but majority of our patients who are going through this kind of mental, or rather experiencing this disease, they don't even know whether we have got this institute existing in our country. So with those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member for Mwingi West. Honorable members, now the next opportunity will go to the Honorable Dorothy Modhoni, nominated member. Honorable members, I see a lot of interest in this motion, and you know that at the beginning of the motion, we did not make a decision to speak for less time. So people are spending 10 minutes to debate. So you can use your discretion to speak for less minutes so that more people can speak. So I'd like to ask you to be patient. I can see the screen is full, but we'll do our best so that as many of you speak, but that depends on the length of time you're speaking. The Honorable Dorothy, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I too rise to support this very important motion, and I want to thank our brother, Honorable Timothy, MP Marakwet West, for bringing this very important motion. Madam Speaker, it is important for all of us to note that cancer is a monster that is feared.
The Honorable Dorothy doesn't have the mic. What has happened?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, cancer is a monster that we all fear. Madam Speaker, the worst and the most disheartening news that each one of us ever gets, it's when you go to a hospital and the doctor says, I want to test whether you have cancer. Be it you or your relative, that marks the end of the beginning of all your fears and anxiety. Madam Speaker, I know too well that each and every family seated here today families are in one way or the other affected by this monster. Madam Speaker, I want to say the government of Kenya, through the relevant state departments and in fulfillment of Article 43 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, confers on every person to get the highest attainable standard of health, to be accessible to all members of the society. However, Madam Speaker, in recognition that cancer is the number 3 cause of mortality and the second leading cause of all non-communicable diseases in the country, Madam Speaker, and noting that the annual incidents are increasing by the day, Madam Speaker, I want to underscore the fact that we have major cancers that spread across board and they are spotted in all communities. Cervical cancer, prostate cancer is one among the leading cancers in this country. Madam Speaker, when one speaker, the woman rep for Migori, was cautioning our young girls seated in the gallery to take care of their sexual health. Madam Speaker, it is very timely because we are seeing very, very young girls getting cervical cancer. And cervical cancer is one of the cancers that are sexually transmitted. Madam Speaker, I also join now to caution the young girls on matters of sexuality so that they don't fall prey to this very, very devastating disease. Madam Speaker, we are here as a country, very many years after independence, still talking of a disease that is causing havoc, and a disease that is so stubborn and has been here with us. Madam Speaker, we are devastated because the health facilities that are taking care of health patients, cancer patients, are so overstretched, Madam Speaker. We note with a lot of concern that we only have 58 oncologists in this country. We only have 60 oncology nurses, 12 oncology pharmacists. We only have 27 radiology technologists and 2 nuclear medical physicians who are so overstressed and overworked because the number of patients that they handle on a daily basis cannot be able to match the expertise. Madam Speaker, I want also to note with a lot of concern that out of the very many cancer patients who are detected every year, 78% of them have no chances of survival. That means, Madam Speaker, as a country, all the patients that are detected and having cancer, they don't make it. Maybe they die in the next 5 or 1 year after the detection of cancer. Madam Speaker, I was so concerned when Madam Bose Sholai was giving evidence of reasons why our people are dying of cancer. PET science, which have been condemned in the Western world, they are still in the counters in our country, and because of corruption, these pesticides are still seeing their way to our farmers. We are still buying the products which have been sprayed using these pesticides, and Madam Speaker, this exposes all of us to the dangers of cancer. Because, Madam Speaker, when you visit a market, whether it's groceries, whether it's a fruit market, wherever you go, you don't inquire which pesticides are being used to spray those vegetables that you are buying. Madam Speaker, it is the high time that as a country we join forces together and walk the talk of ensuring that if something is condemned, we all rise up and condemn and urge the government to ensure that the 257 condemned pesticides are out of our shelves as early as tomorrow. Madam Speaker, we also have an issue of even beauty products which find their way in our market. And these beauty products are condemned also in other countries, and they are still in our shelves, Madam Speaker. And all these products, because the effects of cancer is never realized in a day. The effects of cancer is realized after maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or even 5 years. And Madam Speaker, we are saying this is the high time that the various government agencies work and ensure that they are not corrupt, so that things that are not supposed to be in our shelves, they are not found there. Madam Speaker, I want to say the proposed fund that Honorable Timothy is proposing will ensure that we increase in capacities of the community health system to create awareness about cancer and early care seeking, therefore increasing the chances of survival and successful treatment. Madam Speaker, we also want to increase in human resource capacities at all levels of care community, county and tertiary and at the national level. And this will ensure that the detection of cancer and early and accurate diagnoses are made so that the referral and treatment are done at the earliest opportunity. Madam Speaker, this also fund will ensure that the procurement of equipment for diagnosing and staging to complement the current capacity, noting that all available facilities are only found at the Kenyatta National Hospital, and then most recently, Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital. These are the only public utilities that have all the gadgets that are required for proper diagnosing of cancer patients. Madam Speaker, I want to also say we have also health facilities which are private and they are not within reach of the common persons, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you realize cancer is the only disease that will eat your money, it will eat your relatives' money, it will eat the money of the entire community, Madam Speaker, and it will ensure that it carries all your wealth up to the grave. Madam Speaker, this is the high time that as a country we become serious with cancer. Madam Speaker, and the only way we can be able to do this is ensuring that this fund is put in place so that we can be able to employ at the earliest opportunity community health workers who will ensure that they can be able to assist the people at all levels to detect the early symptoms of cancer. Madam Speaker, I want to say as a house, it will be very, very unfortunate if we can sit here as registrators and not pass legislation that will ensure that cancer treatment, cancer prevention is accessible to all of us. Madam Speaker, I wish to support this very important motion and urge Honorable Timothy to ensure, and the entire House, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we walk the talk and this debate does not end by only debating. We take action. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I know I should be looking at the left side, but I am going to purposively go to the Honorable Member for Westlands, the Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance also to speak on this motion. Madam Speaker, when I came in, I listened to the Honorable Deputy Speaker when she was speaking, and she gave quite some good information about prevention of cancer, because some of the chemicals that we are consuming, Madam Speaker, have been banned in many countries, but are still here on our shelves. Madam Speaker, prevention is always better than cure. And if we work on the causes of cancer from the onset, then we will be able to control or manage the effects of cancer that is now spreading like a wildfire. Madam Speaker, in the last parliament, we lost 2 honorable members, I think 3 or 2. I know Honorable Ken Okoth, my very good friend, and Honorable Waititu, a member for Ruiru. Madam Speaker, we lost them on this cancer. And many, many other Kenyans, Madam Speaker, who are suffering. And cancer, when it hits, Madam Speaker, it doesn't matter how much you have made your savings, it trains you, it trains your family, and it leaves the families devastated. It is good.
Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba, you have a point of information, but I'm going to find out from the Honorable Member for Westlands whether he would like to be informed. Would you like to be informed by the Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba?
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to inform the Honorable Member that the late Honorable Waititu Wakape was not a member for Roiro constituency, rather he was a member for Juja constituency. Thank you.
Thank you for that information, Madam Mheshimiwa Wamchomba. Madam Speaker, cancer is some disease that needs very high level of diagnostic. I remember the Honorable Ken Okoth, for a long time, he was being treated for just common ulcers. But later on, when he went abroad and they was diagnosed with the cancer stage 3, Madam Speaker, it was quite unfortunate that if it was diagnosed early enough, he could have prevented it. So sometimes even the diagnostic is also something that we must work on, because many times people end up being treated for a different thing, and yet it is a different disease that is hidden within the body. Madam Speaker, we must also look at some of the things we allow in our country. We import some things, and including so many things, not just that are the things that are consumed, but even things that are used commonly. We find that things that are they are bringing very close to us and are causing cancer, even in the villages where you could not imagine that we can have such a disease, Madam Speaker. We have seen chemicals used in the farming, and some of them which have been banned in all over the world, but they are still here. Madam Speaker, we must look at it carefully, and we must also, the people who are responsible for controlling these things, Madam Speaker, they must be serious, because some of them overlook and allow some of these dangerous things to get into our system, and they come and infect us. Madam Speaker, cancer is not just a common disease. It has been, and it lacks proper cure. Sometimes we just try to prolong it, but eventually it will bring somebody to end somebody's life. So we must seriously, as a country, start working on prevention and make sure that the causes of cancer are totally minimized or eliminated altogether, so that we prevent, we protect our populations and most of our people from getting these infections, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to congratulate Honorable Torotich for bringing this, and the fund for this, establishing a fund for cancer, Madam Speaker, it will be a good thing if the government can do that, because this will also help people who are being trained or who are taken out of the country, and we go and spend a lot of money. But if we have even investment in the country and have more facilities also dealing with cancer, especially in if we can have it at least at every county level, then it will be able for people to access treatment quickly and to be very near and accessible to them. So, Madam Speaker, establishment of a fund, I think in collaboration with the county governments, it will be something that will be handy for all of us. And we want to encourage this. And maybe the honorable member at a later stage can even take this and convert it into a bill and bring it so that we can pass it into a law and make sure that the Kenyans can access treatment, affordable treatment within the country and within the facilities that are available, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, Member for Westlands. The Honorable Mark Mwenje, Member for Embakasi West. Mark Mwenje's card is really blinking on intervention, so he's out of the House. The Honorable Agnes Pereio, Member for Narok North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to put my voice on this motion on establishment of a National Cancer Prevention and Control Fund by Timothy. And before I continue, I would like to thank Timothy for bringing this motion to this House. Cancer is a killer, and it kills everybody. And I think it is our concern as leaders to look at this issue and make sure that these funds are available. And it is worrying to hear that there are international countries that are manufacturing pesticides that kill our people, and they don't sell them in their country, but they come and make money from us. This is a shame for us to know that these pesticides are killers, and we allow these pesticides to remain on our shelves or in the shelves. Because I believe that Roundup, because I come from Narok North, and they do a lot of farming, and they use Roundup as a pesticide in preparation of their land for growing. Then it starts from the aggravate, because I believe they inhale Roundup at the shops. And then it moves to the innocent women and children as people spray their land. It's taken by wind to innocent people who are not even there. And we just can't be keeping quiet as leaders as we see our people suffering. To me, I hate and I fear and I can never forget cancer. This is because it killed my father. And when it was pronounced, everybody was shaking and everybody started seeing like using resources on my father was like a waste of resources, because after all, he was going to die. Because people believe that there is no cure, and of course there is no cure, and so there is no need of using resources. So that's why I support this motion, to make sure that we look at funds and we come up with funds that will take care of our people. And at the same time, we also need to create awareness on the innocent people who think that Roundup is doing any good to them. We need them to be aware that as they spray Roundup, they are bringing near to themselves cancer that is already a killer and that is already killing people. So we also need to educate our people. And that is especially after us having a motion here in the introduction of comprehensive health education as a core subject in our schools, so that we can also have our children, our girls, our women, our young women having knowledge on what causes cancer. so that they can be aware and they can start preventing by not doing what is not right. So our people should have information, and we should make sure that we put a lot of information so that as you use Roundup or as you have early sex, you know what you are taking yourself to or what is going to happen to you. So for me, I support this motion, and there is need for us as a house to make sure that we put into task those people that are making money out of killer pesticides that are killing our people. And with those few remarks, I support that there is need for us to have these funds to control and to make sure that we support those that are already have cancer, so that they can have hospitals to go and they can have insurances, so that they can treat themselves and they can take care of their relatives. And with those few remarks, I say thank you and I support.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Caroline Ngeleche, member for Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise to support the motion on establishment of a National Cancer Prevention and Control Fund by Honorable Timothy Toroitich, my MP, the MP for Marakwet West. Madam Speaker, as I sat here listening to members' debates, I realized that the issue of cancer is very emotive. But then, Honorable Speaker, I think we should focus now more on the discussion on the funds of that as per the motion. Madam Speaker, and I'll choose to stick and discuss on the funds to control and prevent cancer. Madam Speaker, as a country, I think not enough focus, or we've never given attention to the killer disease that is cancer. Madam Speaker, we have so many people nowadays in Kenya suffering from cancer than even malaria. But then, Honorable Speaker, the government, there are funds allocated to malaria. There are funds, even when we got COVID, funds were allocated and vaccines were free. We have donors giving ARVs, antiretroviral medicine. We have others even helping us to control births by giving us pills. In many public places, Madam Speaker, condoms are free and you can pick from any and every other dispenser. It is about time also we get to give a slot to cancer, Madam Speaker. Somebody might argue and say that these other ones are donations. But then for the government, if there is no one who is interested to give a donation, or if there is no one who is interested in funding this one, the government of Kenya should actually pick it up and ensure that we do something about cancer. Madam Speaker, cancer, I think, has affected almost every and other family. I lost my father 2 years ago, and my grandfather at the same time to cancer. I understand the plight that families go through when they have cancer patients. You feel helpless, you get traumatized, you're drained to poverty, and eventually the worst nightmare is you know that you are eventually going to lose this person, especially if they are in the later stages of cancer, that is stage 4, stage 3, or stage 4. Madam Speaker, at times we spend a lot of money, even when we've been told that our patients are now given palliative care and nothing is going to be done to save their lives. But then since you cannot just sit and watch your beloved one dying, you will still spend money knowing that that money is just going to the grave. Madam Speaker, it is about time in this country that some terminal diseases, and in this case cancer, be a burden of the government. The government should help people, or to help the people of Kenya to shoulder some burdens like these ones, because some are very preventable. Like malaria, you can prevent. We could prevent COVID. HIV is preventable. even the birth control pills are not necessary. We can prevent it naturally. But for the case of cancer, that is something that we don't even know when we have it. And we work with it for several years, several months before it is discovered, and we are now told that there is nothing that can be done about it. Madam Speaker, we are to collect the resources used by individual people in Kenya to take care of their loved ones, to treat their loved ones, to offer palliative care to their loved ones. It is a huge amount of money that can even run the economy of this country. Madam Speaker, some people who have means, or also who don't have, but they still need to have their loved ones alive, fundraise, contribute, sell property, and even travel to China. They travel to India. They travel to the UK and to the US. The worst thing at times, Madam Speaker, is when you are in those countries, they never tell you that this person is not going to survive. They milk you to zero. They drain you to zero. And you will come back maybe with somebody who is not alive. You might come back with somebody who is dead. Even the expenditure of having a dependent there is not easy. As we speak, Madam Speaker, I have my friend hospitalized in India. His name is Jude. Being treated of the same, being treated of cancer. It is not cheap. He's been there 3 times. It is not cheap. He's taken loans. He's done all he can. Madam Speaker, some of those expenses can be made cheaper if the country, if as parliamentarians or as Kenyans, we set even aside one hospital that will deal exclusively with cancer. We have so many private hospitals around. We have even those who offer palliative care. And you find, Madam Speaker, even when somebody is on palliative care, maybe they still do chemotherapy or radiotherapy for maybe 35,000 shillings per session, 40,000 shillings per session. This person needs other drugs. So you're just paying knowing that I'm not going to have this person again. Madam Speaker, I support this motion by Honorable Timothy, and I want to thank my MP for coming up with this motion. I want to support and say that it's about time, Madam Speaker, we treat this pandemic called cancer. We give it attention it requires. We give it the resources required. Madam Speaker, when people go out of the country to get treated for cancer, they come and tell us that the technology outside there is way superior than what we have inside, within Kenya. And it leaves me asking myself, can the government even allocate us one center fully equipped with modern equipments so that some of those people who have average earners, so that even if we fundraise for a patient or we fundraise for someone, we don't have to incur money on air tickets, on hotels outside the country. So, Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion, and I want to urge each and every member here. It is too unfortunate that when we are discussing such sensitive issues like these ones, it doesn't give much attraction to many members. But to me, this is what has made me sit here from morning, Madam Speaker, as I waited to be given an opportunity to contribute, because I know this is what is affecting each and every person, and it is draining us financially. I beg to support the motion, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member for Elgeyo Marakwet. Honorable Member, just to inform you, is that the screen is full. Many people are interested in talking about this, and thank you very much for debating very well. Honorable members, before we go to the next person, the next honorable member to speak, I would like to recognize the presence of students seated in the speakers gallery from Merera High School, Naivasha constituency, Naivasha County. You are welcome to the National Assembly to observe the proceedings of the House. Honorable members, the next opportunity goes to the Honorable Beatrice Elachi, member for Dagoretti North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also rise to thank Timothy, for indeed giving us this motion. That is a motion that I know many Kenyans, wherever they are, they are watching and asking, are we going to come up with something that can save the challenges that many families have gone through, Madam Speaker? As we also know that this is a disease, a demon that has made many families very poor. Madam Speaker, in this house, we lost the governor, the late Joyce Laboso. Just a few days ago was her memorial. We lost honorable members. Through COVID, many people succumbed because of COVID, and they had cancer. They just went. We lost so many doctors. We have lost so many families. Today I have so many families, Madam Speaker, in Dagoretti North. Today, this morning, I was talking to the mom for Coach James in Kawangware, and we were just discussing how she's going through her chemo, how do we support her through her NHIF, and not just her, many other women and men and children, and who are sick today. We pray that as we discuss this, Madam Speaker, that all those families, may God just give them grace as they go through this painful process. I want to thank, Madam Speaker, our Deputy Speaker. She started by just telling us about how, and this is something that in our country we have entertained. I don't know how we entertain, how we just move on. We entertain when we have our own in offices who have just decided to ignore some of the things that we are saying, even in this house. Madam Speaker, when you look at the pesticides that have been banned in Europe, and you might be surprised they are in our shelves in Kenya, you will be surprised that they are numbers and numbers. I am hoping in Kenya right now, Asafet is out of the shelf. I am hoping, Madam Speaker, Aldrin is out of the shelf. Dinosebe is out of the shelf. Madam Speaker, Aldrin is out of the shelf. Benson is out of the shelf. Calcium cyanide is out of the shelf. Edrin is out of the shelf. Menazone is out of the shelf. Nitrofen is out of the shelf. Sodium methane is out of the shelf, and many, many others, Madam Speaker. When you name them, you walk into any of those local vet kiosks that we have. Madam Speaker, you'll be surprised. One of these is somewhere. And our farmers are helpless because they don't know. And here we are talking to an authority, a body that is supposed to look at all these things, and we are saying we are safe. Madam Speaker, cancer arrived in our country as a silent killer when those who are doing pesticides were now making money. Today, where we are talking, every Kenyan you'll hear when you go to hospital, Madam Speaker, they have inflammation, they have this, they have this. As you move from inflammation, your parent, your mother, your father, your relative, at the next, because you cannot diagnose and understand, next thing she will be in stage 3 cancer, stage 4 cancer, H. pylori every day because of water. People are just in hospital, Madam Speaker, every day a kit of H. pylori, a kit of H. pylori. We are forgetting it just moves and becomes that silent killer. And as we put in this, Madam Speaker, we need to request the government, first of all, through just the NHIF card, can we improve it for our Kenyans to use it in hospital? For those who are going for chemo, for those who are struggling, they have to come to Kenyatta. Madam Speaker, we can be better. We can make it better. And we can look at how we deal with this. Once and for all, we can put up our own research center, our own place. We are told, Madam Speaker, for you to just get the drug to get exactly and diagnose. You either have to go to South Africa or you go to India. So in Africa, it's only South Africa. Why can't we also, as a country, look in a place where we know it is not crowded, it doesn't, because there's a lot of radiation in it, Madam Speaker, and start ourselves to save our own. Madam Speaker, I believe today this is the #1 killer in our country. It is the #1 poverty killer. It takes the face, it completely, you find people are helpless. They would wish to see their patient through, but they are so helpless. But also, Madam Speaker, you find that also we have taken advantage again. And it becomes so expensive for our Kenyans. So if we support Timothy to do this, to take it to a bill. But in the meantime, ask the government to ensure you enhance NHIF to be better for any person who is going through any chronic disease in this country. Madam Speaker, the other day I did a call in Dagoretti North to just try and do a few through our NHIF and to see if I can just deal with those who have chronic disease and our elderly parents. But this is not enough, Madam Speaker. It's a bit sad. And today when I see us, even walking, you walk today, you are normal, tomorrow you find yourself. But also, Madam Speaker, I want to plead with those who have the insurances, even our own insurance. Madam Speaker, you can go even 10 times. You are told, oh, you must get the letter from the doctor, or you go, you get the letter, they say, no. You must change and have you cannot go there again to be diagnosed. You cannot go there for testing again. So you are wondering, you have an insurance, you cannot go for any treatment, Madam Speaker, without being tested again. So even our own insurance here, they have to change their attitude on what they are doing on members. Because I'm in the service committee, Madam Speaker, and there are many complaints also. And we want to say, if a Kenyan feels they want to go for treatment, allow them to go, Madam Speaker. This thing of taking, you remember, Madam Speaker, a few months ago, there was a motion they were trying to push that you have to go through the ministry, and we refused in this house. We said, by the time you are going all over the ministry to sign off somebody to go for treatment, that person will be no more. So, Madam Speaker, we are saying, if any person has an insurance, by a parastatal, by a company, given, allow them, if there's nobody who is willing to go and sleep in a hospital for the sake of sleeping in a hospital, so they should be allowed, if they go and say, I feel this and this, and I have gone through several treatments, allow me to move and go for other treatments, they must be allowed. And they must be allowed because that is the person who understands where they are sick, how they are sick. Madam Speaker, even as I name this banned pesticides in the European Union, in India, how I pray that in our country, as I have said and named, some of them, there are so many, Madam Speaker, there are more than 200 that are supposed to be out of our shelves today, and not just the ones that are supposed to be for Kenya, Madam Speaker, but we also need to ask, we need to check what has been banned in European Union should be banned in Kenya. What should be banned in India should be banned in Kenya. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I just want to say this is one motion that we should carry to the end as the 13th Parliament and see that we have saved the face of many Kenyans. For all those Kenyans who have passed on through cancer, today we celebrate you wherever you are, and we pray that God has mercy on your souls. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very much, Honorable Beatrice. The Honorable Brighton Yegon, member for Konoin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. for allowing me to contribute to this motion of establishment of National Cancer Prevention and Control Fund by Honorable Timothy Toroitich. Madam Speaker, as you know, cancer is a menace, and many Kenyans have been consumed by the cancer menace, and it's actually spreading like a bushfire, Madam Speaker, in our villages, and it's a total disaster. Families have been drained of their resources due to huge budgets required to treat cancer and even the other terminal diseases. Even as we talk about cancer, there are also other terminal diseases that are draining resources of our people, especially the kidney dialysis, HIV and AIDS, diabetes, among others. Madam Speaker, fundraising to mobilize for funds has drained the community of the resources, and also many families have sold all their land, all their investments, all their hard-hand resources to actually try and fund the treatment of this terminal illness. Madam Speaker, the causes of these diseases, it's suspected that one of them is lifestyle, the other one is a pesticide that we use as some of the causes of this particular disease. However, the main cause of cancer is still a mystery. And we are only told that early detection of this particular disease can actually be, you can treat a disease that this disease, if it's earlier detected. The government should put in place relevant equipment, relevant infrastructure, sensitization, human resource capacity to handle early detection and therefore the ultimate treatment of this particular disease. Madam Speaker, the state should come on and handle the bills under the National Care or National Cancer Prevention and Control Fund, so as to promote prevention, to promote control, and to promote treatment of the cancer in our country. And in these few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
Much Honorable Brayton. The Honorable Catherine Omanyo, member for Busia County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this motion and thank my dear colleague for even making this come at this time. If you look at the temperature of the nation, these are things that members of parliament should be discussing, because we will be judged by the altar of public opinion if we just came here and sat, enjoyed our salaries, and went home. Looking at how the European nations have been dumping toxic wastes in Africa and bringing, making sure that they hold some of the top people in government to make sure that their poisonous things that they don't know where to put, they bring in our nations. If you go to shelves in chemists, pharmacists are selling things that in the developed nations have been banned. Why are they bringing them to Africa? If you go to farms today, the farmers are using pesticides that are toxic to our health. And they know very well that our health system is not yet at par as theirs. And if they tried and found out that it is poisonous, why bring it into our nations? We want those people who are supplying these pesticides named and shamed, and if there is a board that has been compromised, that board to be dismantled, because we are talking about people who are endangered. Our people must be protected, and the right people to protect them is this house, this parliament. So those pesticides that Honorable Gladys Sholay has already even detected, put it in writing, knocked doors, said this thing is killing us. She is a very good farmer. I know, and I've witnessed her in her farm busy. So she's not talking out of theory. It is pragmatic. Why should we keep counting? Oh, cancer is killing us. Oh, cancer is on the rise. Oh, cancer. And we know that we have the oomph to prevent from this, from being spread. So we need those people that are allowing these pesticides to be supplied today, if not now. They must be named and shamed, and if they are in big offices, we need them out of those offices. We know very well that if we have this fund, cancer fund, in time, we will have these symptomatic patients detected in advance. If cancer is diagnosed in advance, that means it will not be costly. They will actually try to seize it. They will prevent it. They will do whatever they can do at their capacity. Those doctors know what they do to at least control it and kill it. Actually, cancer can be healed if they detect it on time. But normally in Africa, cancer is only diagnosed or detected at the time when it has eaten up the person. They are almost dying. And most people know once they announce that you have cancer, it just means you are already nearer the grave. So we can do something about this. The nation at 60 years plus, we are not young, we do not have teething issues of asking how, and we have the best research. Nairobi University, these other institutions that do research can do this. Let us not keep thinking that the solution is somewhere else or the solution must be in Europe or America. The solution is in our hands, and this is the time to activate what we can do as a nation and stand tall. Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have to put these health issues as a priority. You cannot be leading graves. We want to lead people who are healthy, and a healthy nation makes wealth. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable George Koimburi, the member for Juja.
Asante sana Madam Speaker kwa kunipea nafasi hii ili nikaweze kuchangia jambo hili ambalo limeleta shida katika taifa letu la Kenya, mambo ya ugonjwa huu wa kansa. Lakini Madam Speaker, ningeomba tu waheshimiwa tujaribu kuiangalia kwa undani zaidi, sababu mwenye ameleta mswada huu ameongea mambo ya kucontrol funds ambazo huwa zinatumika sana wakati tunatibu ama tunaangazia huu ugonjwa wa kansa. Madam Speaker, ni jambo ambalo ni la muhimu la kuzungumziwa katika jamhuri letu la Kenya, sababu watu wengi wameumia na watu wengi pesa zao zimeisha. Familia nyingi zimezorota, wameuza mashamba, wameuza manyumba, wameuza pia rasilimali ambazo zimewafaidi jamii zao. Kwa hivyo ningeomba Madam Speaker, tuiangalie jambo hili tukiangazia sana pahali pesa hizi huwa zinaenda, tuhakikishe ya kwamba zimerudi kwa raia, zimesaidia watu, na sana sana zisaidie kujenga mahospitali na pia kupeana madawa ambazo zitasaidia kutibu ugonjwa huu wa kansa. Asante sana Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Asante sana mheshimiwa wa Juja. Nafasi inayofuata itaenda kwa mbunge Edith Nyenze, mbunge wa Kitui West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also air my views on this motion from our colleague Timothy on the establishment of a National Cancer Prevention and Control Fund to control and prevent cancer in the country. Let me start by saying that this motion is very important, and in fact such a fund shouldn't even find its way in our budget. We should budget for such so that we may help our people, because it's the responsibility of the government to ensure that we have a healthy people, we have a healthy nation. So it's very important to have it in the budget. So keeping a healthy nation will ensure that we are economically stable, that our bodies are healthy, and it will even go a long way in ensuring a longevity of our people. So it's a very important motion on prevention and control fund to prevent cancer. I also note that this fund would be very important to educate Kenyans and also make awareness on this disease known as cancer. Actually, it should even be declared as a national health disaster, because my colleagues will bear me witness that every time you are in the constituency, this is one of the diseases which is taking a lot of money and also affecting very poor people who cannot even afford the treatment of the cancer. And therefore, such a fund would also come up with prevention measures and also awareness on how this disease can be controlled, or now this disease can be managed, or now this disease can be controlled. And actually what I want to say is that if it is proven that some of these things like pesticides are coming from other countries, pesticides, some chemicals, some cosmetics, some medicine, that they are finding their way into our country and causing cancer. So what is the government doing? Where is KEBS? Why are they not preventing us from getting such goodies from outside the country, which would bring such disease? So I would caution that the government, we should be very careful. If this one is a proven fact that they are causing cancer, then we should be doing something to prevent these things getting into our country. But Madam Speaker, also, sometimes I even question about cancer. They say that cancer is caused by weight, that is excessive weight. They say that cancer is caused by tobacco. Cancer is caused by alcohol. But sometimes I wonder, you go and see a very thin person in the country who does not even take meat, and they say meat also causes cancer. You see someone who is very active in the rural areas, a very poor man, a very poor lady who does not take meat, who does not have excessive weight, someone who does not take alcohol, someone who does not take tobacco, and then they have this cancer. So actually we should come up with some diagnosis to say exactly what causes this disease. Because it's not a disease for the rich, it's not a disease for the poor, it's a disease for all. So when they talk of weight contributing to cancer, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I've seen many people who do not have excessive weight getting cancer, as I've said. So we should come up with some real causes of cancer, some real prevention measures, real awareness to our people so that we can know what to prevent. Because I'm sure, Madam Speaker, that almost everyone of us is affected or affected by this disease in one way or the other, directly or indirectly. So as I've said, I think we should declare this disease as a national health disaster, and then the government should come up with measures in budgeting for this disease. Even Kenyans, we can also contribute to this fund. We can contribute to this fund, maybe even through the awareness. We could have cancer walks, or even if it's on an annual basis, and we contribute towards this fund. I'm sure all of us, since we are affected, Kenyans will be willing to even contribute to this fund and ensure that this killer disease, this horrifying disease, is controlled, is prevented, and, if possible, reduced in a big way. And with that, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member for Kitui West. Honorable members, before we go to the Honorable Wamushomba, I would like to welcome Students seated at the Speakers Gallery, St. Peter's Kambukaini Secondary School from Kieni constituency, Nyeri County. Students, you are welcome to observe proceedings of the House. The Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba, member for Githunguri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to surely support this wonderful motion, a meaningful motion on behalf of the great people of Kenya, because cancer has indeed been a menace in our households. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to congratulate the Honorable Member, Honorable Timothy Toroitich, for this wonderful motion. I am sure the people who voted in this Honorable Member are proud to have a realistic member who's moving with the times and the needs of the people of his constituency. And on behalf of all other members, Honorable Timothy Toroitich, thank you for filling the gap. Honorable Speaker, every time I am in my constituency in Githunguri, I receive 10 to 10 cards inviting me for fundraisers, medical related. 50% of the cards that I do receive are cards that are fundraising for the sick, bedridden, hospitalized, dead and not released to bury because of bills associated, and others seeking medication outside the country and they cannot afford the bills they are in. Madam Speaker, every single household in my constituency has such related cases. Families are going bankrupt. Families are selling ancestral land to cater for medication. In my constituency, Madam Speaker, my voters are farmers. And we concentrate on dairy cows. So we use our dairy cows as assets. We have provided our pedigree cows in hospital as security to be able to cater for medication bills. It is so emotionally challenging for a family to give out their cows, their title deeds, their logbooks into hospitals so that they can be able to take care of the ailing kings. Madam Speaker, I am very excited about this idea of establishing a National Cancer Preventive and Control Fund, because without money, any intervention cannot be implemented. But I'm also very, very keen to know, after we debate this motion, and probably we create a fund, do we have a departmental sector within the Ministry of Health that strictly takes care of cancer, diagnostics, investment, and other activities around cancer? Madam Speaker, I come from a media communication background, and I've been very active for the last 24 years in this country. And while I was on radio, I invested almost 50% of my time to speak about malaria control in the late 90s and early 2000, up to about 2006. Every single morning, we aired advertisements sensitizing communities around the lake, around the Central Highlands, the Eastern Highlands, on how to prevent malaria. We even created a department in the Ministry of Health called the DOMC, Department of Malaria Control. That was a preventive intervention. Madam Speaker, we have the money, and we are supporting this motion so that we can create the money through the National Cancer Preventive and Control Fund. But Madam Speaker, after we get the fund, what preventive efforts are we going to put in place so that we can have a complementary approach? We control, we fund, and we prevent. But Madam Speaker, how do we prevent? Because preventive medicine is cheaper than curative medicine. How do we prevent cancer in this country? when we have made Kenya the dumping place for electronic waste, which within it has very serious levels of lead, a metal associated with causing cancer. Madam Speaker, how do we control cancer, yet we are still allowing fuel in this country that is not purified enough and carries with it lead, a hard metal that is known scientifically to cause cancer? Madam Speaker, how do we control the spread of cancer when we still are allowing pesticides in this country that are banned in other areas of jurisdiction because of the mess and the hazard associated with such pesticides? Madam Speaker, about a month ago, I traveled to Japan and I had a discussion around our coffee and people who buy our coffee from Kenya to Japan. And sadly, they told me that they no longer buy coffee from Kenya, and our coffee is banned for the next 3 years, since 2020, because of impurities that have been traced to be carried by our coffee because of use of banned pesticides. Madam Speaker, I even got a list of pesticides that are in use in Kenya that are currently banned in Japan. They gave me a list of 127 pesticides allowed to be used in Kenya. But if you go to the website of Pest Control Board, Kenyan Pest Control Board, you will find over 300 pesticides allowed. The difference of those pesticides, Madam Speaker, is what is even making our coffee not get market outside Kenya. We are the source, we are the conduits, and we are the problem. Even as we set this National Cancer Prevention Control Fund, we must come up with complementary approaches that are going to help us win the war against cancer, like we did with malaria control and many other diseases that has been our problem, and we have come up with a solution. So I do support this motion, and how I pray that this is not going to die at the motion level. How I pray that, Madam Speaker, through your honorable chair, you are going to give directions on the way to actualize the National Cancer Prevention and Control Fund. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Githunguri. The Honorable Naomi Wako. Member for Marsabit County.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice to this very important motion that has been brought to us by Honorable Timothy Toroitich, and also thank him for coming up with this motion that concerns each one of us. Madam Speaker, as many honorable members have already said, cancer is a disease, is something that is affecting our country and has affected every family in this country in a huge way. Some people have suffered because of a family member, others have lost 2 family members, and you can imagine even the stress, the financial, it drains people financially, and you can imagine what many families have gone through, especially those who have been affected in terms of 2 members of the family. And cancer is something that, before we used to believe that maybe it is because of your advanced age that you get cancer. But today, even a 1-year-old baby, even 6-month-old baby, I have witnessed a child who is less than a year who died of cancer. And it was very traumatizing for the parents, for the mother and the father to sit there and take care of a sick child who is quite young and cannot even be able to bear the pain. Madam Speaker, families have been denied the opportunity to grow economically and even as a family because of the confusion that this disease has brought into many homes. I know even here as we sit, many of us have been either been affected or others survive with cancer. And that is why deserves. Cancer, as we all know, is said to be the third. But I think today we can all say that it is the first and the leading cause of death in Kenya. And especially when it comes to the leading different cancer that affect. You can imagine of women that have died or have already been suffering because of cervical cancer. Many women are suffering because of cancer, and many have died because of breast cancer. Many children and grown-ups are suffering because of chronic leukemia. Many are suffering because of stomach cancer, and you can name it. And this is something that the moment you hear of cancer in your family, it brings a lot of problems, because poverty levels of our members of the country and county have been increased due to this disease. Madam Speaker, that is why we as the leaders in this country today need to come up with a measure, with a way that cancer can be fully controlled. And that is why establishment of National Cancer Prevention and Control Fund is something that we need to do now, if not now, like yesterday. Madam Speaker, early cancer screening and management is good for us to advocate for in every county, so that in all the 47 counties, we have the cancer screening centers and management, so that people don't travel. The people from Marsabit travel for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, all the way from Marsabit, which is almost 700 kilometers from here. And we travel, people travel in order to seek for medication. So if we have cancer centers and management in every county, and not only have the building alone, but have it with all the requirements, with all the equipment, with all the doctors and the experts to manage that, then that can help people. Today, Madam Speaker, people don't even get to Nairobi. Many of our patients travel all the way to India. And the question that we need to ask ourselves is this: we have all the hospitals we need in this country. Why would our people travel all the way to India? The expense you incur in Kenya is almost 3 times or 4 times than the expense that people incur in India. And that means then there is need for people to review even the cost implication of cancer treatment. Madam Speaker, proper research needs to be done in order to know the causes of cancer in almost all the counties, because like my county, suffers a lot, and many people have died and still suffering because of this disease. Nobody knows the cause. People blame eating of meat or animal product. Others say it is because of the chemicals, and some of our people are not even exposed to chemicals. They live such a natural and traditional lives. So you wonder where they get these diseases from. Others say that it is because of the refrigerators and refrigerated food. Many of our people do not have even refrigerators at their homes. And so we need to do enough research and invest in that. Again, there is need for us as a country to provide good medical care to the patients and also caregivers. Counseling to both the sick and the caregivers is something that we need to do. 1 year ago, I lost my mom to cancer, and it was very painful to watch her going through the chemo, the pain and the suffering, and it is still very fresh in my mind. It is a disease that I wouldn't want any other Kenyan to die of. It is a disease that I wouldn't want to see any family suffering and trying to manage. Madam Speaker, we need to come up with a way. And also, one of my colleagues has already said that we need to take it as a national disaster. In fact, a disease that takes almost 32,000 or 40,000 people. When the mover was moving, he said about 90,000 to 100,000 people per year. That can only be a national disaster. We are losing young, we are losing the old, we are losing even the babies. And that is why we are calling upon our nation even to announce this and pronounce this as a national disaster. Madam Speaker, the only thing that we can give to the people who are currently in hospitals, suffering and going through the pain of chemo, the heavy medication, and the pain, the trauma that they are going through, the only gift that we can give them as they go through that is to establish this cancer prevention and control fund as a nation, whereby they know, even when they are on that bed, they will know that as a nation, we are thinking about them and we are working with them. Madam Speaker, there are families that have lost both the parents to cancer, and children are left orphaned. We need to come up with a special program so that all the children orphaned as a result of cancer can be given special care. Number one, they fear that they are also going to die because of cancer, and that is why counseling is necessary. A special fund for them is also relevant so that they can be comforted even if their parents or one parent has gone. Maybe it is the breadwinner who has gone with cancer. They know that they will get the necessary education so that they can take care of their lives in future. Madam Speaker, there is need for Ministry of Health to come up with serious measures and way forward so that when people get into this, then we know that as a country, we are taking care of this. Madam Speaker, I support this motion, and it is my prayer that very, very soon, these funds will be established to comfort and help those who are already infected and affected by the disease. Thank you.
Very much, Member for Marsabit. Honorable members are listening to various members as they contributed. The Honorable Amushomba called upon the Speaker to guide, and I have heard other members calling upon the guidance on what needs to be done. One is to bring to your attention that there already exists an Act of Parliament, that is the Cancer Prevention and Control Act of 2022. So it is important for the mover of the motion to find a way of bringing an amendment to this Act. I'm sure you know what to do. You will be guided by the clerk's office. We have a robust legal department that can assist you to ensure that all these matters that are being raised by the members can be brought in as an amendment. I hope that helps to guide the House and also for the other members who are going to contribute going forward. Honorable members, now we will go to the costs and we'll have the member for Magarini. I hope that he's in the House. The Honorable Harrison Kombe, member for Magarini.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii kuweza kuchangia katika hoja hii ya saratani. Mheshimiwa Spika, jibu la tiba ya saratani iko kwa Waafrika. Jamii ya Magharibi ni wazuri sana kwa kubuni matatizo, lakini si wazuri wa kutoa suluhisho ila Afrika peke yake. Swala hili la saratani ni swala ambalo tunaweza kulizuia na kulimudu. Kwanza niseme shukrani kwa ndugu Timothy kwa kuleta mswada huu wa kuweza kubuni hazina maalum ambayo itashughulikia swala hili la saratani. Hii hazina kwanza itatusaidia kwa kuweza kufanya utafiti, na pia vile vile itasaidia hata wale ambao hawawezi kugharimia matibabu haya ya saratani. Saratani ni ugonjwa ambao unaweza kudhibitiwa na pia vile vile kumdiwa kwa wakati unaofaa. Shida kubwa ambayo tuko nayo kwa wakati wa sasa ni kwamba madaktari wetu hapa nchini si warahisi wa kukwambia wewe unaugua kansa, maana wanaogopa wakikwambia hivyo utaingiwa na hofu na vile ukaweze mambo yakaweze kukuharibikia haraka kuliko kawaida. Na hofu, niambie bunge hili kwamba hofu ni ugonjwa ambao hata umeshinda hii saratani, kwa sababu hofu peke yake inaweza kukuua hata kabla. Zamani upungufu wa kinga mwilini ulipogunduliwa, ilikuwa kuambiwa tu wewe uko na HIV tayari ushakufa. Hivi leo ukiambiwa una saratani tayari wewe unafikiria miezi 6 baadaye utaenda kupumzika kaburini. Lakini si hivyo. Inastahili watu waambiwe mapema.
I would like to be assisted to identify the member who has crossed from the left all the way to the right. Which honorable member is this? Is he a new member in the House? I hope you are not going to cross back to where you were. Is the member? It is unfortunate that the clerk's office is also not able to identify him. But I would like to guide you that if you want to cross, you have to go all the way to the end, bow, and then you cross to the other side. I know that we are still learning, but I encourage you to learn faster. It's 1 year down the line. You may continue, Member for Magarini.
Asante, Mheshimiwa Spika. Likuwa ninaelezea ile shida ambayo inatukumba. Kwanza, wahusika wenyewe kuenda kufanyiwa utafiti ama kuenda kufanyiwa uchunguzi, si wengi wanaojitokeza. Na pia vile vile ni kwa ajili ya hofu ile ambayo imeweza kuwekwa pale. Lakini ukweli ni kwamba tunaweza kuzuia na tunaweza kumudu ugonjwa huu wa saratani. Niseme bunge hili limebahatika kwa sababu tuna ile gym pale mahali kwa mazoezi, kuna ile sehemu ya reflexology. Ni sehemu muhimu ambayo hata kama ugonjwa utakuandama siku chache zijazo, kwa njia ya reflexology unaweza ukajulikana unaenda kuandamwa na ugonjwa gani. Hii saratani ya aina yoyote pia inaweza kugunduliwa hata kama inaanza saa hii kwa kutumia ile njia ya reflexology. Hivyo basi ningeuliza ikiwezekana katika mafunzo ya udaktari ikaweze kujumuisha reflexology, kwa sababu ni kitengo muhimu ambacho kinasaidia kujua magonjwa aina mbalimbali. Reflexology inafanya kazi sawa na ile mashini ya MRI. Hivyo basi ningehimiza wizara husika ikaweze kuona kwamba hili somo linafundishwa katika vyuo vyetu vya udaktari. Hapo tutaweza kusaidia jamii yetu kwa kukinga na pia kudhibiti huu ugonjwa wa saratani. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia vile vile kuna hili shirika la ubora wa bidhaa. Ni shirika ambalo kwa sasa linatugwaga, kwa sababu hivi tunavyozungumza, kwanza kwa madawa yale ambayo yanauzwa kwa sasa ama yanatumika, 60% ya madawa hayo hayafai kabisa. Ni 40% tu peke yake ndio madawa ambayo yanaweza kutufaa kwa matumizi, lakini 60 hayafai na bado yanapatikana katika maduka ya kuuza madawa. Hilo shirika pia ingefaa lipigwe tochi ama lipigwe msasa. Kwa hayo machache au mengi, Mheshimiwa Spika, niseme asante tena. Asante.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa wa Magarini. Honorable members, I would like to find out whether the following members are in the House because their names are appearing on the screen. The Honorable Eric Muchangi, member for Nyanjes. The Honorable Lilian Sioi. Please remove those names from the screen. The Honorable Anthony Wainaina, out of the House. Seems they left their cards inserted. The Honorable Joses Lel Mengit. The Honorable Wakili Moriu. Okay, thank you very much. Let us proceed to the Honorable Joseph Emanthe, member for Turkana Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. First, in the onset, I would want to say thank you to Honorable Toroitich for bringing out this motion on the establishment of a Cancer Prevention and Control Fund. Madam Speaker, the first thing I would want to give as part of my input into this motion is that the effects of cancer is actually one of the most contributing factor into our socio-economic growth, and the negative effects of cancer is what makes even our economy in one way or another not to grow in a better trajectory, because we are spending a lot of money at the household level to treat cancer. When we get into the statistics of cancer, you realize that cancer is one of the third highest cause of morbidity in the country, and this contributes to 7% of the death in Kenya. Madam Speaker, I will not want to speak so much into this because my fellow members have been able to speak into it, but I would want to appreciate that the president of our country was able to take the CSS into a contract signing process. And what I wanted to input into is that when we are able to introduce a fund, a cancer fund, it will be easier to measure their performance. It will also be easier for us to understand how much of our funds in the country goes into supporting cancer prevention and control. And therefore, when we say that we have a National Institute of Cancer,
a member for, that is member for Kisii County. You know, I know that you're still learning, but when you entered, you stuck on the left, and in the middle, you crossed the floor to the other side. So you do not do that. I would like you to walk back bow and make a decision on which side of the aisle you want to be and walk there. You may proceed, Honorable Member for Turkana Central.
Honorable Speaker, what I wanted to mention is about the performance contracting and also the introduction of the National Institute of Cancer to take charge of the fund. Once we introduce it, it will be very much easier. And lastly, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that this comes out as either an amendment to the existing act or we provide for a regulation that will help us be able to bankroll on this fund. Because, Madam Speaker, it is a very, very important fund that will help us as a country. Looking at the much agony in terms of emotional challenges, the household is brought from let's say maybe 60% access to income to zero, and the dependents are left, and so much of agony is left behind when the patient or the person who was maybe the household breadwinner or the caregiver dies. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support.
Thank you very much, Member for Turkana Central. The Honorable Francis Igay, Member for Sotik.
Madam Speaker, I also want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this very important motion. And on onset, Madam Speaker, I want to thank my brother, Honorable Timothy Toroitich, for bringing this very important motion to this House. Honorable Toroitich, through the chair, I would like to thank you. And I know this motion speaks to the people of Sotik because, Madam Speaker, for many of the funerals I've been attending in my constituency, people have been asking me to talk about this issue in Parliament. Because, Madam Speaker, it is the most prevalent disease in Sotik and the entire Bomet County. Madam Speaker, this disease is costly. This disease is scary. This disease is devastating. This disease is terminal. And therefore, Madam Speaker, this motion has come at the right time. And Madam Speaker, I want to support the member who said we would like the government to declare this disease as a national disaster. That will allow the government now to look for funds, which the Member of Parliament, the sponsor of this motion, has mentioned. Madam Speaker, we need money. This disease has brought our people to abject poverty. People have sold land, people have sold cows, people have sold everything. And Madam Speaker, people who have died are poor, people who have died are rich. It doesn't know the age. It doesn't know the limit of whatever people have. So, Madam Speaker, I would like to mention a number of things which I feel should be done. Number one is the public education. People should be given the issues of causes of this disease to know and understand. I know, Madam Speaker, from the talk which we have had today, it appears that nobody knows the cause of cancer. And therefore, we need to look at the causes of this cancer because nobody knows. We need experts to come up with the causes, make research, and the government should also give money. And Madam Speaker, I know this House has a duty to really work on this issue. And Madam Speaker, I would like to talk about these pesticides and chemicals. Madam Speaker, it is in the hands of this House This House can make decisions. This House, Madam Speaker, can call upon those who are responsible of allowing chemicals and pesticides in this country. And Madam Speaker, we have our whole Committee of Health, which can call and summon those who are concerned. The Minister for Health should come to this House and explain to us why they are allowing these chemicals into our country to kill our people. Madam Speaker, I also want this House to allocate more money so that this government can be able to work on this disease. Madam Speaker, I also want to urge the move of this motion to bring in some amendment on this act so that we can be able to bring funds and ask for funds from the national community to come and assist us. Madam Speaker, I also want to ask the government to establish a cancer center in every county so that it can be able to do this, to learn and prevent this disease. Madam Speaker, I also know that we have few specialists, especially oncologists in this country are very few. Radiologists in this country are very few. Madam Speaker, we would like to see this being done. And then lastly, Madam Speaker, is the issue of vaccination. We need to look at vaccination. Vaccination is a very important preventive measure, which if it is done, we can prevent these diseases early enough, and screening of patients in this country. Madam Speaker, I would like to support this motion and thank Mheshimiwa Honorable Toroitich for bringing this motion today, and I know it's going to be one of the best motions I've ever seen in this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very much, Member for Sotik. The Honorable Amina Mnyazi, Member for Malindi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu ya wakati nitazungumza haraka. Jambo la kwanza nimshukuru ndugu yangu Mheshimiwa Timothy Toroitich kwa sababu hili swala la saratani ni jambo ambalo linagusa kila Mkenya, na ninapozungumza Mheshimiwa Spika ni jambo ambalo liko karibu sana na moyo wangu. Kuunga mkono huu mswada Mheshimiwa Spika ya kwamba tuweze kuweka kitita cha hazina ili sisi kama Wakenya tuweze kujikinga na kudhibiti ugonjwa wa saratani ni jambo ambalo litaweza kutusaidia sisi mahali pakubwa sana. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama nchi sisi tulipokuwa tunapambana na janga la TB, janga la malaria na janga la ukimwi, serikali iliweza kuangazia haya magonjwa kwa undani zaidi, na nafikiria ni wakati saizi Mheshimiwa Spika hata hili janga la saratani tuweze kuliangazia kwa wingi zaidi. Mheshimiwa Spika, pale Malindi kuna watu wengi ambao wako na gonjwa la saratani, na nami nimeweza kuwasaidia kwa njia tofauti, lakini ni vizuri saizi tuweze kuweka vichwa vyetu pamoja ili tuzidi kusaidia watu wetu. Jambo la kwanza, hata mbali na hizi pesa, sisi kama wabunge na kama serikali ni lazima tuwezeshe zaidi madaktari wetu, tusomeshe watu wetu kuhusu ugonjwa wa saratani, ndipo tusipate madaktari ambao ni kidogo, tuweze kuwa na madaktari wengi ambao wanaweza kutusaidia kwa upande wa saratani. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama vile magonjwa mengine, kama gonjwa la ukimwi, wako na madawa yao na wanapatiwa madawa na serikali pamoja na vyakula. Hata wale ambao wako na gonjwa la saratani ni muhimu tuweze kuwasaidia, waweze kupata madawa, waweze kupata vyakula ili waweze kujisaidia katika hali yao.
Honorable, in the interest of time, honorable members, the Honorable of Amina Mnyazi will have a balance of 3 minutes when this debate is put in the order paper, and after which the mover will be called to reply. So, honorable members, at the time now being 1 o'clock, this House starts adjourned until today, Wednesday, the 2nd day of August 2023 at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.